Hello, I'm Susan Woods, the self appointed Black Lives Matter investigator. Today, I am asking the question: did the billionaire George Soros give Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation millions of dollars? Did the billionaire George Soros give the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation millions of dollars? Of course, we know that's the rumor. So, in this video message, I hope to address the rumor and to answer the question. Black Lives Matter, of course, that is the slogan that you've been hearing people use now more frequently over the last year, probably than ever before, due to the George Floyd murder. And you're going to be hearing it quite a bit more, particularly this week, because I believe tomorrow marks the 1 year anniversary of that event. So, in this video, I'm going to address or try to address the rumor that the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation is primarily funded by the billionaire philanthropist, Mr. George Soros. Specifically, I'm going to talk about Mr. Soros himself just a little bit. I'm going to talk about the Open Society Foundations that he founded and about the awarded grants over the years to see if Black Lives Matter, if the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation is listed as a recipient. I'm going to talk about the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation's fiscal sponsors over the years and its current 501c3 status. And finally, I'm going to try to answer the question: did Mr. George Soros give the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation millions of dollars? I want to emphasize in this video, I am talking about the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation. I'm not talking about the chapters underneath it or any of the other entities. I'm talking about the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation, which would be considered as the headquartered or the headquarters for the Black Lives Matter networks or movements or whatever you want to call it, if the organization had been established properly from the beginning. So I'm going to pause the screen because in this video, I'm going to share links and I'm going to share sites with you to demonstrate how I am planning to answer the question. So I'm going to pause the screen shortly for just a short minute. I'm sorry, just to grab the next screen that I need or the next website that I need to use. So thank you for your patience as I navigate. Because if you've been following me for a while, you know that I like to share what I'm talking about. I don't like to just talk about it. I like to share. I don't always do that, but I like to do that in situations like this where I believe it's important to show evidence. Okay. So I'm almost here to answer the first question. Who is George Soros? So I'm looking at the Investopedia website here, and this article or this question was answered by James Shin on August the 30th, 2020. Who is he? He's a legendary hedge fund manager who is widely considered to be one of the most successful investors of all time. Soros managed the Quantum Fund, a fund that achieved an average annual return of 30% from 1970 to 2000. He remains the chair of Soros Fund Management LLC. And then you have some key takeaways here. George Soros rivals Warren Buffett for the title of most successful investor of all time. And that says a lot. He's given most of his vast fortune to philanthropic activities. His support for progressive causes have made him a target of right-wing conspiracy theories. The Hungarian-born Soros is also known for his vast philanthropic activities. As I stated, he has donated billions with a B of dollars to various causes through open society foundations. He is a longtime champion of liberal and progressive causes, making him a target of a variety of conservative conspiracy theories. Soros is believed to be worth more than $8 billion as of 2020, but has donated more than $30 billion to charitable causes. Much of that money went to fund education and health programs, human rights, and the furtherance of democracy. In recent years, he has donated lavishly to the Democratic Party in the United States. So I'm going to stop there. You can go back and read this article if you choose to, but I just wanted to give some background information about who George Soros is as a person before we move on to answering the question, is he really the funder behind the scenes for the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation? So I'm going to pause for just one moment and go on to another video or another link that I would like to discuss. So this link that I'm getting ready to pull up now, and again, thank you for your patience and me going through different pages and sharing, or different sites and sharing rather. This one comes from the New York Times. And this article, again, is from the New York Times and it's entitled George Soros' Foundation Pours 220 million into Racial Equality Push. Mr. Soros' group will invest $150 million in grants for Black-led racial justice groups and another 70 million toward local grants for criminal justice reform and civic engagement opportunities. And this is where I believe people have taken this little tidbit of information here and have run with it. This is where I believe people got the notion that he is automatically investing in Black Lives Matter since he's investing in Black led racial justice groups. They just assume it must be Black Lives Matter, but is it really? Let's find out. This is Mr. Soros, of course. He's the billionaire, focused previous philanthropic efforts on racial justice groups in the United States, as well as on historically marginalized groups. And this article was written by Mr. Asted Herndon on July the 13th, 2020. The Open Society Foundations, which is the philanthropic group founded by the business magnate George Soros, announced on Monday that it was investing $220 million in efforts to achieve racial equality in America, a huge financial undertaking that will support several Black-led racial justice groups for years to come. And again, I think this is where the assumption came in very easily. Sorry about that. Came in very easily um, to assume, to make people assume that it must be Black Lives Matter. Let's keep reading. The initiative, which comes amid national protests for racial equality and calls for police reform ignited by the killing of George Floyd in Minneapolis, will immediately reshape the landscape of Black political and civil rights organizations and signals the extent to which race and identity have become the explicit focal point of American politics in recent years with no sign of receding. Mr. Soros, who has at times faced smears and anti Semitism over his role as a liberal mega donor, is also positioning his foundation near the forefront of the protest movement. Again, feeding into the rumor. Let's look at it. Of the 220 million, The foundation will invest 150 million in 5-year grants for selected groups, including progressive and emerging organizations like the Black Voters Matter Fund and Repairers of the Breach, a group founded by the Reverend Dr. William J. Barber II of the Poor People's Campaign. The money will also support more established Black civil rights organizations like the Equal Justice Initiative, which is one of my personal favorites, which was founded by the civil rights lawyer Brian Stevenson and depicted in the 2019 movie Just Mercy. Okay, so these are the areas that they have identified as being recipients of the $220 million. I mean, 150 of the $220 million, excuse me. Where is the other 70 million going? The Open Society Foundations, again, which Mr. George Soros founded, will invest an additional 70 million in local grants, supporting changes to policing and criminal justice. This money will also be used to pay for opportunities for civic engagement and to organize internships and political training for young people. So this article, and I'm not going to read the whole article, you can go back and read it, but this article doesn't mention Black Lives Matter one time. The closest it gets to mentioning Black Lives Matter is mentioning Black Voters Matter Fund, the Black Voters Matter Fund. But it doesn't mention the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation. Okay, so that's one article that talks about where the money goes. So let me pause again, and I'm going to go to another link. This time I'm going to actually bring up the link for the Open Society Foundations and and show you how to look at the list of recipients of the money. That's crucial. I want you to see where the money goes in terms of the list that this organization provides to show us where the money goes. Okay, so here is Open Society Foundations. This is the foundation that Mr. Soros started to invest his billions of dollars to support people who are trying to do good in terms of how he defines doing good. So, Open Society Foundations awarded grants. The Open Society Foundations work to build vibrant and inclusive democracies whose governments are accountable to their citizens. The vast majority of the grants made by Open Society, the vast majority of the grants made by Open Societies are to organizations, but we also award a limited number of grants to individuals, primarily through scholarship and fellowships offered across a number of different programs. Okay. The vast majority are given to organizations, though. So now, if you want to know where the money actually goes, then you can search. I've already typed in Black Lives Matter to prepare for this presentation for you. So I'm going to just do a search on Black Lives Matter and see what comes up. One grant was found. One grant's found. This grant was not given directly to Black Lives Matter. It was given to Release Leads Limited in 2018 for a total of $279,860. That's not quite the million that people claim that he's given, but let me click on it. And you can read the information that it supports right here. Description: to support the grantee's work to 1. Maintain Talking Drugs, a web-based educational platform that provides easily accessible information related to harm reduction and drug policy reform in 10 languages to the general public, activists, and policymakers. Number 2, host 2 cohorts of a fellowship program on drug policy reform with participants from Southeast Asia and West Africa, for which the grantee retains final control over the selection of fellows. And number 3, organize public live events featuring the Black Lives Matter Movement UK, United Kingdom, drug user activists, sex worker activists, and the LGBTQ, I'm sorry, LGBTIQA plus advocates speaking on relevant topics to raise public awareness. So that's where the money went, and that's how the Black Lives Matter name came up. It's the Black Lives Matter movement that they support in the United Kingdom in 2018 for $279,860. So that is information about that. Okay. So let me stop sharing. And again, I like this. I like this site personally because it allows you to go in and look for the awarded grants, and you can just type in what you're looking for and provide find information that way. Now, one thing I would like to also point out while I'm on the screen, the Open Society Foundations gives money to organizations, like I said, primarily, right? So in that spirit of conversation right now, the definition of an organization for this foundation, for the Open Society Foundations, would be organizations with 501c3 status, more than likely. More than likely. So the question is, does the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation have 501c3 status? And the answer to that question is yes. They earned 501c3 status last August 2020. So it just makes me wonder why they went back on their firm commitment not to be governed, not to apply for 501c3 status. That was their first assertion on their original website. They did not want to have to answer to anyone. They wanted to control their own operations without having a board of directors to govern. But so what changed their minds? Let's see. I'm going to pause my screen so that I can go to the IRS website to find information about the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation to share with you. Okay. So now I am on the IRS website where you would go to search for the status of any nonprofit, not just Black Lives Matter, but any nonprofit that claims to be nonprofit. This is where you would want to go, and you could follow this path. You can go to IRS, then go to charities and nonprofits, search for charities, and then click on the tax exempt organization search. And then you will come down. If you don't know the employer identification number for the organization, you can search by EIN or employer identification number. So in this case, I'm just typing in Black Lives Matter, and I'm going to click on search. And then you will get search results. I'm going to scroll down. Now, last year, when I first started doing this, last June 2020, there were only 22 Black Lives Matter 501c3 entities with that name in it, Black Lives Matter name in it. Now, as you can see, it's 33. So that lets you know people continuously apply for 501c3 status with the Black Lives Matter slogan in their name or composed of the name, because the Copyright Office refuses to give anybody copyright protection for the words Black Lives Matter. You cannot put a copyright on the words Black Lives Matter. And if you go to that copyright website, you will see the number of times people have applied to get a copyright protection on the words Black Lives Matter, and they are always rejected. So I don't know why they keep applying. But anyway, back to the conversation. Sorry for the digression, but here we go. So here's a list of organizations that have gone through the application process to earn 501c3 status for their Black Lives Matter program or whatever. Okay, so another thing I want to point out as I scroll through this list is when you see auto revocation list, that means this particular Black Lives Matter entity does not have 501c3 status. They had it, but this lets you know they've been revoked. So anytime you see that underneath any nonprofit, that means they do not currently have 501c3 status and should not be requesting donations because they don't have a status. The IRS revoked their 501c3 status. So I'm going to scroll down because I'm looking for the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation. The Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation, which, as I said earlier, would have been the headquarters for the Black Lives Matter entities, but they don't have such a structure in place. So the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation, that's headed by Patrice Coolers. She is the executive director of the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation. Now, this is not the foundation, and on one of my videos, I messed up and said that it was, but this is not the Black Lives Matter Foundation that I'm talking about. This is a Black Lives Matter Foundation, but it's not the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation, okay? So I messed up on one of my videos, but I did put in the description that I messed up. This is not it either. Black Lives Matter Foundation in Delaware, that's not it. The Black Lives Matter Foundation in some city and state in the United States, that's not it. This is the one I'm looking for. The Black Lives Matter Foundation Incorporated. And the reason I know is because I've already gone out here and found it before I started the video. But as you can see, I'm just going to scroll on down and let you see the other Black Lives Matter names for the different ones in different places over the United States, across the United States. And I have done investigations on the majority of these, not the ones that just added recently, but I have done investigations on the majority of these entities. This person here that started the Black Lives Matter Greater Atlanta was arrested for embezzlement of money. Of course, they've been revoked, but he's been officially, Sir Major Page, he's been officially arrested for embezzling money. But let's get back to the topic of conversation. I'm going to click on Black Lives Matter Foundation. It's based in Oakland, California. You see the employee identification number is 824862489. Any other names it's under is right here. Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation Incorporated. And it has a determination letter. The determination letter is the approval letter, letting the world know that they have successfully gone through the requirements to earn 501c3 status. So I'm going to click on the letter. I'm going to open up the letter so that you can see it. And it's taking a moment for that to come up. So I'm going to pause my screen as it comes up for you. Thank you for your patience when I have to do that. It's up, so I'm going to make it visible for you. Okay. It is coming up. Here it is. Okay. All right. So let me show you this. So this is the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation determination letter. It shows the address, the mailing address where it's located. It shows the accounting period ending December 31st, and that's also called the fiscal year end. That's important for people to know because it determines when your application or when your Form 990 rather is due to the IRS every year. So I'm trying to, I guess I just leave it like that. It lets you know when your application is due to the IRS every year, your Form 990. The Form 990 information return tells the world how you did. Where did the money go? It answers the question I've been asking for a year, or supposed to, where is the money? So this organization was supposed to submit their Form 990 information return by May the 15th because your Form 990 is always due 5 months and 15 days after your accounting period ends. So looking at this accounting period, it ends in December, right? December 31st. So that's January, February, March, April, May 15th is when it's due. and it wasn't posted on the website. We've already talked about that. But anyway, that's when it was due. Let's look at the date of exemption. That's what I want to focus on. They received, or the IRS gave Black Lives Matter the determination letter or the approval of 501c3 status on August the 28th, 2020. Okay, that's when the IRS says, okay, yes, you have earned 501c3 status as of this date. Now, I'm going to scroll up just a little tad because I want to show you something. This is the date, 12/2/2020, that the IRS released this good news to the public. So this is the date of the letter when it went out to the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation and to the public. So even though they had approval on August the 28th, 2020 as a 501c3, the letter went out on December the 2nd, 2020. And that happens a lot. So when you are applying for 501c3 status, it would be good to just check on your status periodically during the review process because you may be approved sooner than you thought. They were approved almost 3 months before they were even notified. But anyway, this is the letter. Dear applicant, we're pleased to tell you we determined you're exempt from federal income tax under Internal Revenue Code, IRC, Section 501c3. Donors can deduct contributions they make to you under IRC Section 170. You are also qualified to receive tax deductible bequests, devices, transfers, or gifts under Section 2055, 2106, or 2522. This letter could help resolve questions on your exempt status. Please keep it for your records. So this is the letter. I'm not going to read all of it, but this is the letter. And in the letter, it also includes warnings about not misusing the status. You are warned on about 3 pages behind this letter. The IRS attaches warnings about misusing the information. The status, excuse me. Don't misuse the status is the message. So I'm going to pause sharing, but I just want to let you know that the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation does have 501c3 status effective August the 28th, 2020. This organization does have it. In a lot of my videos, I said they did not have it because they did not have it at the time I recorded the video, but now they do. Now they do. But the question becomes, well, since they just received 501c3 status in August of last year, how have they been telling people they have 501c3 status since 2013 when they started blacklivesmatter.com? When they started the blacklivesmatter.com website and received donations, who was responsible for managing those donations? So you have from 2013 to 2020, where did the money go? Who managed the money? I can answer the question up to a point. So just one moment, and I'm going to pause the screen again. Once again, thank you. I hope this is providing some good information for you. So now I'm going to share with you where the money went in the first, let me see, 3 years of their existence. No, not the first 3 years, but let me just pull it up and I'll show you. I'm sorry, I'm rambling and I apologize. So excited. So excited. Okay, so here we are. Thousand Currents. Thousand Currents was called IDEX, IDEX. So here's an announcement on September the 6th, 2016. IDEX and Black Lives Matter announced a global partnership on September the 6th, 2016, press release, okay, for immediate release. San Francisco, the International Development Exchange, IDEX, and the Black Lives Matter Global Network, BLM, they hadn't added the word foundation on the end yet. It was Black Lives Matter Global Network, BLM, are pleased to announce a new partnership that reflects the global spread of the movement for Black Lives Matter. Now, this is 2016. Remember, Black Lives Matter started in 2013, right? immediately following the um, trial of George Zimmerman when he was acquitted for killing Trayvon Martin, that's when this movement launched based on what the three founders shared. So you have 2013 up until 2016. I cannot trace where the money is going or where the money was supposed to go. I cannot trace from 2013 to 2016, September 2016, who the fiscal sponsor was for the money that they generated during that time frame. But on September the 6th, 2016, as you can see here, they formed a fiscal sponsorship relationship with, then it was called IDEX, but later the name changed to Thousand Currents. So IDEX and the BLM will support one another with the goals of promoting social change within marginalized communities. A 30-year-old international grant-making organization, IDEX provides fiduciary oversight, financial management, and other administrative services to BLM. As a 501c3 public charity, IDEX can receive grants and tax deductible donations and gifts on behalf of Black Lives Matter. That's what a fiscal sponsorship does. That's what it does. It provides fiduciary oversight, financial management, and other administrative services to BLM. Why? Because IDEX had the 501c3 status, BLM didn't. So BLM could not tell people that you can write off your donations to us without having a fiscal sponsor with the 501c3 designation that allows you to do so. So that's how this relationship started in 2016 with Thousand Currents, formerly known as IDEX, International Development Exchange. That's their first fiscal sponsor. Okay, so now I'm going to pause because their relationship ended. So let me go to the next fiscal sponsor. So I'm going to pause so I can pull up the next fiscal sponsor for Black Lives Matter that's currently serving as the fiscal sponsor. Okay, just one moment, about to get there. The current fiscal sponsor for Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation is the Tides Foundation. On July the 2nd, 2020, the Tides Foundation announced that they were taking over as the Black Lives Matter fiscal sponsor. Here's the announcement. Tides welcomes Black Lives Matter as a new partner. Tides welcomes Black Lives Matter as a new partner. Tides Foundation has launched the Black Lives Matter Support Fund. Now, see, as soon as they took over, they are changing the name. It's the support fund. They are saying they're supporting a support fund. What does that mean? The support fund, which will support Black Lives Matter grant making activities. This unique partnership will further amplify the extraordinary, unparalleled successes of Black Lives Matter chapter-led, decentralized organizational model, while also allowing Black Lives Matter to build the necessary infrastructure for sustainability. So again, the Tides Foundation has launched a new initiative or a new fund called the Black Lives Matter Support Fund. Okay, they're serving as a fiscal sponsor and they are offering a Black Lives Matter Support Fund. Okay. And they mentioned the chapter led. It's not chapter led anymore because when the chapters started complaining about not receiving money from Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation as promised since 2013, Patrice Concoulers made a decision to drop the chapters. So if you go to blacklivesmatter.com, the chapters that I investigated last year are no longer listed on the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation's website or blacklivesmatter.com. They're not there. She destroyed that chapter structure. So I don't know what the chapters are doing. I'm assuming they are acting independently. They were acting independently anyway because they said they never got any money anyway. So here we go. BLM formalized its relationship with Tides Foundation after BLM's prior fiscal sponsor, Thousand Currents, made the strategic decision to sunset fiscal sponsorships in order to focus on its core grant making work. Black Lives Matter is creating impactful, historic social change, not only in the US, but throughout the world. And Tides is proud to be their partner, not their partner, their fiscal sponsor. So you can read this announcement for yourself, but it was made July the 2nd, 2020. July the 2nd, 2020 is when Tides made the announcement. So from September 2016 to July 2020, the fiscal sponsor was the Thousand Currents Foundation, was Thousand Currents for Black Lives Matter. Now, the Tides Foundation is the fiscal sponsor as of July 2nd until August of 2020. It's from July to August. They were the fiscal sponsor. Now, I'm not sure if they're still the fiscal sponsor now, since Black Lives Matter has its own 501c3 designation. I don't know why they would need them to be the fiscal sponsor. I haven't seen where they have announced, I don't see where Patrice Concoulos has announced that Black Lives Matter is now its own sponsor or handles its own fiduciary responsibilities. I haven't seen that announcement, so I don't know if the Tides Foundation is still its fiscal sponsor or not. It may be. I'm not sure. All right, that's a lot, isn't it? So now what I want to do, I want to go back to the Open Societies site for just a minute. Because if you want to follow the money, you have to know where the money is going, right? So um we learned that the Thousand Currents was the fiscal sponsor for Black Lives Matter for several years, for 4 years, from 2016 to 2020. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to go back to the George Soros, because that's, after all, that's who we're talking about. Did he give money, or did his foundation give money to Thousand Currents? Because if it did, if it gave money to Thousand Currents, then Thousand Currents could have easily given money to Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation as its fiscal sponsor. So let's see. So going back to George Soros, going back to Open Society Foundations, going back to awarded grants, going back to Black Lives Matter, the first fiscal sponsor for Black Lives Matter was Thousand Currents. So did they give Thousand Currents money, which they could have funneled money to Black Lives Matter? So in 2019, this foundation, or this Open Societies Foundation, gave $170,000 to Thousand Currents for what? To support grassroots solutions to climate justice in Africa, Asia, and Latin America. So my question is, did they give money to Black Lives Matter? According to this, the answer would be no. Thousand Currents did not use the money they received from Open Society Foundations, George Soros, to support Black Lives Matter. The money they received from Open Society Foundations or George Soros' foundation was support grassroots solutions to climate justice in Africa, Asia, and Latin America. So that would be no. So let's go back and let's look at the Tides. Let's look at the Tides Foundation and see if Open Society Foundations gave money to the Tides Foundation, maybe. Yes, they did. They made 25 grants to the Tides Foundation. Was any of the money for Black Lives Matter? I went through these. I didn't see any reference to Black Lives Matter at all. I wonder why. You know why? Because the Tides Foundation didn't become the fiscal sponsor for Black Lives Matter until 2020. So this list provides grants given to the Tides Foundation from 2019, or rather from 2017 through 2019, and they gave 25 grants, but none so far that they've listed, and they may have given, but they're not listed yet for 2020. So that means the Open Society Foundations did not give any money to the Tides Foundation on behalf of Black Lives Matter. So we're getting to the answer to the question, right? We're getting to the answer to the question: does George Soros finance Black Lives Matter? Did he give them millions of dollars? So I'm trying to get to that answer. So let me pause one more time. I want to show you one last link, one final link, and this is from Politico that I want to share with you. I'm still trying to get to the answer to the question, right? I believe in showing you how I do the research. So now I'm on Politico. 2020 elections. Soros pumps more than 28 million into Democratic groups for 2020. The Democratic mega donor gave big to groups focused on voting rights and boosting Joe Biden and Senate Democrats. Okay. Billionaire, and now this was posted on April the 10th, 2020 by Maggie Severns. Billionaire mega donor George Soros spent 28.3 million on the 2020 election during the first 3 months of the year on the 2020 election, including 10 million to fight voter disenfranchisement that Soros donated amid the fallout of the coronavirus pandemic. So I'm not going to read all of that, but I want to scroll down because I want to read one sentence that I know, I believe people ran with, and that's why they are accusing Mr. Soros of supporting Black Lives Matter. So Soros gave millions of dollars in January and February to the main super PACs planning to help presumptive Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden and Democratic Senate candidates, including 5 million to pro-Biden Priorities USA and 7 million to Senate Majority PAC, which is aligned with Senate Democratic leadership. Now let's look. I'm wrapping it up, everybody. He also donated sums to groups building political power among women, including a 1 million donation to Emily's List. And here we go. Here it comes. Here it comes. And 2 million to Super Majority. It's a PAC that's co-founded by former Planned Parenthood leader Cicely Richards and Black Lives Matter activist Alicia Garza. That's it. That is it. That is the statement that has so many people believing this man is behind Black Lives Matter. He is behind, or his organization gave $2 million to a super majority PAC, a super majority political action committee that happened to be founded by one of the co-founders of Black Lives Matter, Alicia Garza. That is the connection that I found. I have done the homework. I cannot find where George Soros has given money to Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation directly. I can't find it. But when people hear that he gives money to Black-led organizations, the assumption is automatically Black Lives Matter, and it's not. From what I have seen, from what I have seen, he's given money to organizations that I too support. I support what he's given. I do. I support the organizations that he supports. He supports Reverend William Barber, Repairer of the Breach. I support that. He supports Brian Stevenson. I support that. So I can't find it. I'm sorry, but I just cannot find it. So I'm going to pull up the last slide of the presentation and so that we can see if we can answer the final question about Mr. Soros. Okay, I'm almost there. I think I'm there. Am I there? I'm sorry, everybody, if I'm messing up. Okay, I'm sorry for that technical difficulties. But the question is, did the billionaire George Soros give Black Lives Matter millions? And in my opinion, from what I've been able to learn, the answer to that question is no. I can't find where he's given millions. He's given millions to Black-led organizations, but that doesn't mean it's Black Lives Matter. That doesn't mean that it's Black Lives Matter. So here we are. Here we are. Did the billionaire George Soros give Black Lives Matter millions? My answer to the question is no. Thank you so much for your time. I know this was a very long video, but I wanted to show you the research. I wanted to show you the links. I wanted to show you how I came to the conclusion that this man, Mr. George Soros, does not support Black Lives Matter with millions of dollars the way people have claimed. Some people have claimed that he is the funder of the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation, and that's not true. Thank you so much. Again, this is Susan Woods, the self appointed Black Lives Matter investigator. I appreciate your support. Have a great day.